Live on the Motor Racing Network, it's the NASCAR Cup Series.
Get a big thumbs up. Get ready to rock and roll past the race cars today, pal. Go boys, let's execute. Have a good day.
Today, practice for the NASCAR Cup Series Championship from Phoenix Raceway. Presented on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Powerful and fuel efficient. Find E3 at your nearest auto parts store.
With a temperature of 86 degrees under totally sunny skies, the NASCAR Cup Series is getting ready for its final practice session of the 2025 season. We welcome you to Avondale, Arizona, and the Phoenix Raceway. Mike Bagley here alongside Alex Hayden and Todd Gordon, getting set for what will be just practice only. Normally, Cup cars practice and qualify in the same ensemble, Alex, but today these teams will get 50 minutes to get their cars dialed in for the final race of the season.
And all teams are allowed on the racetrack in this 50-minute session altogether. There are not two groups to do that here in this practice session. But Todd Gordon, 50 minutes, you got 4 teams out there and 4 drivers trying to win a championship. How important is this 50-minute session for those 4 teams?
Well, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But I would look at it more that you have 4 teams, you've got 8 teams because you've got your teammate cars. And I think that's one place that these teams are going to be leaning on their team cars to get more data because the engineers and the crew chiefs get to look at this and ponder this all night long before making those final adjustments for the race tomorrow morning before final technical inspection.
Of course, we're down to the championship 4. We talk about 4 drivers going for the title, split amongst 2 organizations. Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing are represented in this championship battle. William Byron and Kyle Larson for Hendrick, Denny Hamlin and Chase Briscoe for Joe Gibbs Racing. All eyes will be on, Alex, those 4 cars, but there are some out there that can find their way up and embed themselves in the discussion as well.
And that's one of the things that separates NASCAR racing from other sports out there and how we determine our champion, whereas take football, you have 2 teams square off and that's it. NASCAR racing, everybody has the opportunity to go out and race and try to win this race. And Todd, even though Ryan Blaney, Team Penske as a whole, are not eligible to win the championship here Sunday, they are still odds-on favorites to win this race.
Yeah, I would. I mean, they have been the last 3 years here. I don't know that being out of the playoffs eliminates them from that position. And I think after last weekend and being oh so close, I think there's a little bit of a desire to be the spoiler and see whether they can be that this weekend.
Well, let's get the thoughts of the championship drivers. We mentioned Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin representing Joe Gibbs Racing. They will be followed today by Steve Post of Halstead, Pennsylvania.
The garage area down here at the Phoenix Raceway is laid out with just side by side, and the 2 Joe Gibbs Toyotas are side by side. The Hendrick cars are down the road just a bit. We've got the Bass Pro Shops Club Tracker Boats colors on the Chase Briscoe car. About 15 feet to the right is the very crisp, clean, progressive colors on Denny Hamlin's car. Both drivers arrived about 10 minutes ago to their race cars, and really kind of what you would expect from both. Throng of camera people. There were autograph seekers. There was people everywhere. At the back of the garage stall, a huge group of fans. They all started cheering when Denny walked into this garage. I looked over Chase Briscoe walked in unassuming, all by himself, made his way back to the back of the garage. His long throng of fans were able to get autographs from Chase Briscoe before he climbed aboard the race car. Denny Hamlin, he met with his crew chief, Chris Gale, just leaned up against the race car, and they went over what the game plan is. After Chase signed some autographs, he made his way. He climbed into his car. Again, 1, 2, maybe 3 cameramen around. Denny made his way and climbed into his car. 15 or 20 cameramen around getting pictures of the race car. So really, really interesting, the dynamic down here in Joe Gibbs Racing with Denny Hamlin and Chase Briscoe running for the championship. Both drivers have got into their race cars, and they have moved from the garage area out to the staging area at this point.
And that is at the exit of pit road, and they are the only 2 NASCAR Cup Series cars down here at this very moment, waiting for the track to turn green. Here comes the brightly colored Exalta Chevrolet of William Byron, the red, white, and blue Chevrolet, his teammate and the other Championship 4 contender Kyle Larson, while they make their way out, getting set to go on the racetrack. What was the pulse of the Hendrick Motorsports Championship 4 side of things in the garage area? Our Chris Wilner is covering Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah. Well, Alex, like you mentioned, the brightly colored Exalta Chevrolet of William Byron, it was so bright that the fans were putting their sunglasses on as it rolled out of the garage area here just a couple of minutes ago. Kind of a tale of 2 stories here as far as the lead up to this practice session for both William Byron and his Hendrick Motorsports teammate and 2021 Cup Series champion Kyle Larson. For William Byron, a little bit more laid back, showed up here well before the command was given for drivers to get aboard their race cars. He was joking with his crew chief, Rudy Fugel. They were sharing a laugh together, and then each one of the team members came up on the crew for William Byron, giving him a good luck fist bump as he climbed aboard. Now, for Kyle Larson, they were ready to fire the engine. Suddenly, he emerged from the transporter that's located just across the alleyway from where the garage stall is. Larson, greeted by a group of cheers from the fans here in the garage, immediately just put the helmet on, and it's all business for Kyle Larson as he climbed aboard his Chevrolet. So it's kind of a little bit more of a serious approach, at least a business-first approach for the Kyle Larson team, but certainly for Rudy Fugel and his driver, William Byron, coming off that win last week, trying to ride the wave of momentum was the words from Rudy as they get set for this all-important practice session.
The track is open for practice. Drivers have pulled onto the speedway at a very reduced pedestrian pace. And as Chase Briscoe, the first car that comes out of turn number 4 to the flag stand, he'll goose it. He's in the throttle. Practice is underway. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco.
Hey, it's Ryan Blaney, 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion. If you know me, I did Black Buffalo Long Cut. Black Buffalo is America's only credible smokeless tobacco alternative. Black Buffalo was established in America in 2015, and it dips just like the real thing, without the tobacco leaf or stem. You can find Black Buffalo at thousands of retailers across the USA near you. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative. If it's everything you love about dip, nothing you don't.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-212-2828. 800-212-2828. That's 800-212-2828.
Practice from Phoenix Raceway is brought to you on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Stuck in slow motion? Unleash the NASCAR fire inside your engine with E3 Spark Plugs. Forget pit stops too. E3 gives you maximum fuel efficiency for more miles on the road and less time at the pump. E3 Spark Plugs, power, speed, domination. Get yours today.
Practice ongoing. Again, no 2 groups. It's anybody that has a car entered this weekend can get out on the racetrack in the NASCAR Cup Series and get practice. And that, to me, is going to skew things in the single lap fastest lap because no one's really been able to get a clean lap. Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, they were the first 2 on the racetrack, but by the time they punched the throttle and got going, some of their other cars had already pulled on the track and were still warming up the tires and brakes and so on and so forth, and they were being stuck in some traffic and having to hit the brakes. So I'm not sure we're going to get a true idea, Mike, on who the actual fastest lap is going to be and what that fast lap could be.
All cars are on the racetrack right now, to Alex's point. 50 minutes of practice. Teams are allotted 3 sets of tires. Todd Gordon, how do you allocate time spent on the track, and what do you do with this extra time that you have today to work with?
Yeah, I think that the great part about this is prior to race inspection, which will happen tomorrow morning as these guys go forward. We got caution on the racetrack.
There's a car stop, looked like coming to pit road, back there where Chase Briscoe was trying to come to pit lane. As a matter of fact, Briscoe's one of those drivers that's come to a stop, and AJ Allmendinger is the other driver that's come to a stop on the racetrack. Going into turn number 1 is Allmendinger's Chevrolet. Not sure, I don't see any skid marks, I don't see any smoke coming out of the race car from our point, but AJ Allmendinger's come to a stop, as has Chase Briscoe at the entrance to pit road. Briscoe's car is not moving either, Mike.
No, it's not, and the wreckers are going out to obviously tend to the A.J. Allmendinger car. Briscoe had a problem. I don't know if he's got a tire problem, but there may be a concern on the left side of the race car going into turn 1. Matter of fact, he's got a flat left rear tire. Flat left rear tire going into turn number 1 for Chase Briscoe. And he woed that car down right at pit entry while A.J. Allmendinger had his challenges in the middle of the dog leg. Let's get an update on the Briscoe situation. Posty, what do you have?
Yeah, Mike, you absolutely nailed it there. Flat left rear tire. He reported to the crew that he's had a vibration headed down there, and as soon as it kind of triggered him that he had a flat tire, he woed that car down. It was simultaneously to when the A.J. Allmendinger situation happened, so Chase just kind of decided, I'm just going to sit here and not move anywhere because the caution was out anyhow. Now they've told him to drive the car on around, and they're waiting for that car to come down into the garage area as actually he's limping it down off from the racetrack, and really, really slowly. That car is wobbling as it's down on the rim as he just brings it slowly down pit road. Now they're warning him, make sure we don't do any damage underneath the race car. So a rough start to the afternoon for Chase Briscoe as he inches that car down pit road and brings it back to the garage area.
His championship hopes rest this weekend on how he finishes in Sunday's championship race. But Todd, a little adversity to start the championship weekend for Chase Briscoe and that team.
Yeah, definitely one of those situations. We got a different tire here than we had in the spring race here. It's the one that we've run at other racetracks. I think most of the short track races through the summer we ran this tire combination. We brought a softer tire as an option in the spring, gave them 2 sets of them. They brought a softer compound back here as the primary and only tire for this weekend. Guys have to figure out where they can go to on air pressures with these tires and how aggressive you can be.
You're in the middle of explaining the process, the procedure.
I'm glad I stopped because this changed it all inside out, right?
All right, so what's the updated plan?
Well, at this point, I think I want to continue to run this set of tires. This first run's going to be kind of a poor read, but at least we're going to get rubber in the racetrack. We're going to get cup rubber down. We're going to have some confidence in that. I think right now we're watching the clock was running down at about 44 minutes as we went forward. So I think we're going to run this a little bit longer. I would take the 2 sets I've got left and break them into maybe 2 20-lap runs to get a really good feeling on one change between the 2 of them.
Back to the garage, to Chase Briscoe's garage stall specifically, in Steve Post.
Alex, it is all hands on deck. And when I say all hands on deck, we've got Chase Briscoe crew members and we've got Christopher Bell crew members here. They've got the left side of the car jacked up. That tire was all the way down, and crew members are all up under the car. Wesley Lape, he's the interior guy for Christopher Bell. He's one of the crew members from Christopher Bell's team that's been dispatched here. He, along with NASCAR officials and some other Joe Gibbs Racing personnel, are looking up under the left rear of the car, and what the concern is suspension damage or that rear diffuser. Wesley's actually reaching in now and actually pulling on the diffuser to see if it's been scrubbed off, if anything has happened on it. We got crew members all up and down the left side of the car. Crew Chief James Small is on his knees right at the center of the car with another NASCAR official. They're looking up under the center of the race car as now the right side goes up and the car gets put completely on jack stand. So it is quite the effort down here in Chase Briscoe's pit. You can hear in the background the cars are back on the racetrack. They're back up to speed, but Chase Briscoe's not up to speed as they are deciding what they want to do and what the damage is on that race car.
And one thing different than most of our normal weekends, because we haven't done our final practice or final inspection for race, they can change diffuser parts. They can change suspension parts. Anything that needs to be changed because of the damage that happened from this, they can make the change. It's just going to use up their practice time.
Right now the track is back open for business. Austin Cindric is the quickest. Ryan Priest, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Christopher Bell are the Fast Five. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You've never been one to idly watch someone else do something for you. There's pride in self-reliance, in working with your hands, in harnessing the power of an E3 spark plug with Diamond Fire technology, yielding better engine performance. You have a choice to make. Take control of your ride, of your life, or be the passenger princess of it. Visit e3sparkplugs.com to put the power in your hands.
Looking for motorsports podcasts you won't find anywhere else? Check out the Motor Racing Network's lineup of exclusive podcasts. MRN Classic Races, Junior's Journey, The Many Hats of Jack Roush, Richard Petty, Road to Royalty, 50 Years of MRN, Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career, and The Tough Trucks of NASCAR. Find these and more MRN exclusive podcasts on podcast providers and MRN.com.
Back at Phoenix Raceway, we are under green flag conditions for practice for the NASCAR Cup Series. Christopher Bell now, a flat left rear, coming off the end of the dog leg through turns 1 and 2. He's bringing his Toyota to the pit lane. His teammate Chase Briscoe just had a problem a moment ago, Alex, and now the same problem is happening to another Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota.
Let's go back and let's talk a little bit about how this works. If you've listened to the Motor Racing Network's coverage of NASCAR Cup Series practice all season long, you've heard this discussion. If not, we'll tell you it's important. Goodyear gives these teams a minimum recommended air pressure to run on all 4 tires and all 4 corners, Todd. But the maximum operating grip level, you might need to start with your air pressure a little lower than what is recommended.
Yeah. Goodyear's minimum recommended on the left side tires this weekend is 14 PSI, which sounds like a low number for a passenger car. But I would say these teams are probably teetering with 10 PSI on those left sides as we go out. So we've got red and black out again for somebody in the backstretch.
And Daniel Suarez has a problem on the back straightaway. He will come to a rest, and it looks like he has a flat left rear tire as well. Third one in about 7 minutes. Steve Post, as far as the Joe Gibbs Racing situation is concerned, what's the tone and the tenor among those 4 cars down there right now?
Well, the tone is concerned. Listening to Denny Hamlin's radio, of course, they told Denny about Chase Briscoe having a flat tire, and then as soon as the flat tire happened on Christopher Bell's car, they just radioed Denny, be very careful, be very sensitive as to what you feel, what you're looking for, because Christopher has now had a flat left rear tire. Denny continued to race. He never said a word, and then when this caution came out, they told him to bring him to him, and by the way, that last lap was Denny's best lap. So I think there's some concern down here in the Joe Gibbs camp, and well, really, with Daniel Suarez not being part of the Joe Gibbs camp, there's probably concern up and down the garage area as to what the challenges are right now with these left rear tires. Denny Hamlin has progressive colors on the car. Here he is now making his way into the garage area, hangs a left-hand turn, and Denny Hamlin brings his car into the attention of Chris Gale and the crew here in the garage area.
And the one piece we got to look at here, as I was kind of having to talk while Steve was talking up here in the booth, this is if you came back here with the same air pressure that you were successful with in the spring race, we've brought a tire that's got a lot more grip in it. The pace is up, which means the tire deflects more. When you get down in the corner, the contact patch rubber is sticking to the racetrack and making that tire actually bend more. That puts more stress on the belt package in them, and really it requires a little more inflation for support, because although we thought it was fine earlier, we've added grip to the tire, and we actually having to figure out where we have to go to on increasing pressures to make that tire live.
So how much of these teams down in the garage area now begin to go back and forth and try to find out what air pressure some of these teams that we've seen already started off the day with, so they have a better idea and a baseline?
You're trying, but it's like playing poker. Everybody's got their poker face on it. And even Goodyear, I'll be honest, most of the time they got the real numbers from us, but a lot of times Goodyear doesn't. When a tire's failed and they ask for it, they probably don't get the real number of where the air pressure got set.
So on the racetrack right now, we're seeing something that's very unique. Daniel Suarez is actually driving the wrong way on the racetrack. If you're not familiar with the layout of Phoenix Raceway, pit entry is in turn 2. His problem happened halfway down the back straightaway. Instead of Daniel going all the way around the racetrack and entering pit road in turn 2, they've allowed him to turn his car around, and he's driving back the other way towards turn 2. He'll do the U-turn and come back down pit road, which obviously will be paying him dividends because he doesn't run the risk of damaging a quarter panel or doing any other damage to that race car. So something you very rarely see, a car going the wrong way during practice, albeit under the red flag right now.
After the first tire issue with Chase Briscoe and the AJ Allmendinger stoppage on the racetrack as well, NASCAR added 3 minutes to the total practice time. Well, since then, we've been halted a couple of more times. So no word yet if NASCAR is going to continue to add time. I gotta be honest, these teams understood the test that was in front of them. Yeah, they may have mistakes out there on air pressures like Todd just described, what could have happened out there. But this is something I think everybody is going to make quick adjustments to.
Todd, would you bring your driver back to the garage to put more air in the tires? And if so, how much air would you put in it?
Yeah, I can't really put air in this tire because the damage has already been done. And typically we don't see it. The damage gets done when the tire has the least amount of air in it. Those first 2 laps on the racetrack is when the damage got done. So if I want to do something safe for my driver, I've got to put more air pressure in a new set of tires and put a new set of tires in the car.
We'll keep a close eye on it as the track is back under the green flag, and we're resuming practice as we speak. Kyle Larson rolling off of the pit lane. He'll make his way back out on the racetrack. Let's follow up with Kyle Larson in his garage with Chris Wilner. What were they saying about Larson's car in his opening couple of laps of practice?
Yeah, well, it was hard for Kyle, who came over the radio and said, I just need to get more than 5 or 6 laps under my belt to see where the read of the balance is. But off of that first tire failure that brought out the first red flag, he came over the radio and told Cliff Daniels, he said, it is just way too tight on corner entry. I mean, I have no absolute steering going into the corner, and it just feels like it wants to push up towards the wall. So they brought him down, made some adjustments. They jacked both sides of the car up, making adjustments on his Chevrolet. He has since been down again under the second red flag. Much better, but again, now just focused on finding a balance once we get the read on the tires, hopefully on a long run after this resumption of practice. On the other side, William Byron, he's been cognizant of the potential of what these tires could do. Rudy Fugle had told him before practice, he said, remember the wheel force test that several teams had here earlier this year? They saw some tire failures and some cording on rear tires going on there as well. So it's one of those aspects that they're keeping note of for William Byron and Kyle Larson. William Byron even said those first 2 runs, I just tiptoed around the racetrack just to make sure that we were good there. So certainly everyone is aware of those tire issues we've had so far. Hopefully we get a good run here. But right now the Hendrick Motorsports Group just trying to hope for a long run to get a good balance on both of the race cars.
Well, right now William Byron is 5th. Kyle Larson is 11th. It is the Gibbs cars that are substantially down the leaderboard right now. Denny Hamlin is in the garage right now. Matter of fact, Denny Hamlin is 19th. Chase Briscoe is 18th. Back to Steve Post.
Now, we've talked about now Denny Hamlin. One crew member has been under the left rear of Denny Hamlin's car, and he has been in there with wrenches just adjusting the suspension of that car. Not sure if it's adjusting the suspension because of the handling. Remember, his last lap was his best lap, or adjusting the suspension because of concerns for this left rear. Again, it's all hands on deck with Joe Gibbs Racing. There's a couple Interstate Battery crew members here. That's Christopher Bell's sponsorship. They're on the car here as well with Denny Hamlin. So they've made the adjustment to the left rear suspension on the car, and now the left rear tire is going on. The jack stands are coming out. Ironically, Denny had a 10-lap run. I talked to Chris Gale beforehand, and his strategy was a 10-lap run, a 25-lap run, and hopefully a 45-lap run. So they got the 10-lap run out of the way, but I'm not sure what's going on with these left rears. They're pushing Denny Hamlin's car out now, putting some Sunoco racing fuel in it before Denny fires this car up and heads back out onto the racetrack. It's full of fuel, and Denny Hamlin is going to head back out onto the speedway. There he goes, firing that car up. The Progressive Toyota's back out for another run.
And there's really 2 things that can affect this tire durability. The biggest one is air pressure. The other one is how much camber the tire has in it. When we talk about camber, the amount of angle that the tire is relative to the racetrack, that the top of the left rear tire is actually tipped outward so that it's leaning into the corner. But that puts the load on that outboard shoulder of the tire. So when you put more camber in it, you have to put the air pressure in to keep that part. The failure that I saw on the 19 tire is right there at the shoulder of where the contact patch of the tire and the sidewall of the tire come together. It's overflexing that joint right there. air pressure or taking camber out might allow you to continue to run the lower air pressure, might be what they were changing on the 11 car.
We'll keep a close eye on that and everybody's left rear tires throughout the running of this practice. So far, we've been able to get some laps in here finally, some consecutive green flag laps ongoing right now, as it looks like Riley Herbst has had a bit of an issue out there on the track as well. Another left rear is down, and that is another Toyota, and ironically owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, 2311 Racing. So Riley Herbst, a flat left rear tire. He's able to get that car to the pit lane. We stay under the green flag. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco.
Hey, it's Ryan Blaney, 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion. If you know me, I did Black Buffalo Long Cut. Black Buffalo is America's only credible smokeless tobacco alternative. Black Buffalo was established in America in 2015, and it dips just like the real thing, without the tobacco leaf or stem. You can find Black Buffalo at thousands of retailers across the USA near you. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative. If it's everything you love about dip, nothing you don't.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-212-2828. 800-212-2828. That's 800-212-2828.
We welcome you back to Phoenix Raceways. We've gotten a 10 consecutive green flag lap run finally under our belt for some of our competitors. Josh Berry is the best right now on a 10 consecutive lap average. He has got Austin Cindric behind him, Eric Jones, Ty Gibbs, and Shane Van Gisbergen is fifth in the 10 consecutive lap average.
You know, Alex, one of the conversations coming into this race weekend was what role will Team Penske play? They are not involved in the championship four. They were termed early on in the playoffs as being the yellow cars, meaning the color of the cars for Joey Logano and for Ryan Blaney. Well, right now, although he's not in a yellow car, Austin Cindric is in P1. You've got Ryan Blaney, who's P3. It's Joey Logano down in P15 as far as Team Penske and their role so far. Chris Wilner, what's going on with Team Penske right now?
Yeah, well, certainly Team Penske had the target on its back coming into the championship race. Whether they were in it or not, they know that they have certainly been the cars to beat at Phoenix Raceway. And I talked to Jonathan Hassler, crew chief for Ryan Blaney this morning. He said, certainly, we don't want to rest on our laurels here. We're going to try a lot of different experimental things as far as setup, because we can afford to do that now. You know, we'd certainly like to go out and bring a package like we did back in the spring and also, of course, last year. But at the same time, the temperatures were a big factor this weekend with how hot it was going to be. So it's an experimental period. It's building a notebook for the future and looking ahead to 2026. But at the same time, he kind of smirked and said, we would love to just go out here and stink up the show and put this car into victory lane one final time in 2025. So the heartbreak of last week certainly still stings. But at the same time, it's eyes forward to 2026 and a lot of experimenting going on as far as setups for at least Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano.
Trouble on the racetrack. AJ Allmendinger's made contact with the turns 3 and 4 wall. Hard shot with the right front corner of his Chevrolet. It rocketed up. He went down to the bottom of turn 3 on entry like he had a tire go down on him and went straight up the racetrack and pounded the blue safer barrier before coming to a rest on the apron of the racetrack. A big hit for AJ Allmendinger.
And we are under the red flag yet again with Austin Cindric, the quickest of everyone. Ryan Preece, Ryan Blaney, Josh Berry, William Byron, the Fast Five. Safety crews are on the scene, tending to AJ Allmendinger. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Motor Racing Network. .33 minutes remain in the final practice session for the NASCAR Cup Series in 2025. Motor Racing Network welcomes you back to the Phoenix Raceway. Mike Bagley alongside Alex Hayden and Todd Gordon. Steve Post and Chris Wilner are in the garage. And if you just joined us, it has been a very eventful practice session. Chase Briscoe, tire problem. Christopher Bell, tire problem. Riley Herbst and Daniel Suarez have had tire challenges. And if you're just joining us, AJ Allmendinger has had a tire go down. He shot up the racetrack in turns 3 and 4, just walloped the wall, has destroyed the right front of that race car. Good news is AJ is out of the car. He's walking to the ambulance. He will be taken to the infield care center. But we have yet another stoppage in this final practice session here in Phoenix.
A lot happening here in the opening 20 minutes of practice. AJ Allmendinger's team, they're going to have to seriously consider rolling another car out. That's got significant damage to the right front corner. Allmendinger's just sitting on the windowsill of his race car and finally is going to gingerly get out of that race car. Mikey Myers with the AMR safety team right there, and he's going to help assist him get up to the banking into the ambulance to take the mandatory ride to the care center.
And that's what they're doing right now. Now the task at hand is to get AJ Allmendinger's car out of the apron area of turn 4. We mentioned 33 minutes to go, now down to 31 minutes. The clock still continues to tick away on what has been a very halting practice session.
Yeah, so this begs the question. We got another red flag and a stoppage. Todd, would you go ahead and bolt on the second of 3 sets of tires right now, knowing that you're getting fewer minutes?
Yes. Yeah, I'm at a point that we need to be using this time expeditiously in the garage while there's not green flag running on the racetrack, and we can make the changes to pull the set of tires on or just get it full of fuel, make that first sticker run, as you would say, to compare a couple things here in the final practice.
As they work to get the AJ Allmendinger car on the tow truck and back behind the wall, we'll step away as we're under the red flag for NASCAR Cup Series practice. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Every time the siren sounds or lights flash, someone's life is on the line. At Whelen Engineering, we know first responders carry that weight every day. That's why for over 70 years, we've led the emergency warning industry, designing and manufacturing the lights, sirens, and safety systems they trust right here in America. Because when the mission is critical, there's no room for second best. Whelen Engineering, trusted to protect first responders.
Drivers, start your engines!
Your home for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Green flag goes in the air and we are underway.
On the NASCAR Racing Network.
2 by 2 by 2, they're about 10 rows deep of double wide racing. Taylor Gray to the bottom, Nick Sanchez outside, and they're crashing mid-pack.
It's the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on the NASCAR Racing Network.
Back here at Phoenix Raceway, the AJ Allmendinger car is torn up down the right side of that race car. As he was going into turn 3, I was watching it when it happened. It looked like the right front went away, and that car just simply would not turn left all around the corner, and it went straight up the banking and into the outside safer barrier, a hard hit. Allmendinger got out of the race car and has made his way to the infield care center right now for the mandatory checkup.
So we continue under the red flag. They are just taking the Allmendinger car off the racing surface and taking it inside of one of the cut-ins in the walls right past the flag stand. Right now, Carson Hocevar, Todd Gilliland, also Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, John Hunter Nemechek, the first ones that are ready to go out, and indeed the red flag has been pulled back. The field now is getting the green light to go back out onto the racetrack, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. Austin Cindric is the fastest, 27.402 seconds, 131.377 miles per hour. As far as the championship 4 drivers are concerned, the fastest of those, William Byron, he is 5th. Denny Hamlin is 6th. Kyle Larson is 12th. Chase Briscoe is 20th. And we've got 28 minutes left in this practice session.
So Crew Chief Todd Gordon, how do all these stoppages in practice mess up the agenda and the plan that you had laid out for this practice session that was 50 minutes long?
Well, the best laid plans need to be fluid. And this is one where if you thought you were going to run 20 and then come in and make a change, run 20, well, you haven't had that opportunity. The longest we've seen, about 15 laps by anybody here. This just, you got to adapt to it. And at this point, you know, you've watched what's going on, probably trying to put a set of stickers on and see if you can get a 20-lap run in right here. That would be my choice, and then have one left at the end of this practice.
Would you want an opportunity to maybe do a mock qualifying run?
It depends on the driver and the crew chief. And the one caveat is that we will qualify after race inspection tomorrow, which means that you'll have to be full of fuel. Where typically in our normal race weekends, we have to be full of fuel for inspection, but then we run the practice, which burns fuel off. We run the cars, which burns fuel off, and we can go qualify with lighter fuel. So your offsets of what you would do from race trim to qualifying on a normal weekend, that's going to be different because you're carrying all this practice of fuel back in there. That's weight that's behind the rear axle, kind of swings like a pendulum, makes the car looser. You're going to have to find some ways to offset that fuel load.
Let's get an update on the fastest championship board driver in William Byron. Chris?
Yeah, William Byron, as we talked about at the start of this practice, before several red flags, felt like the car was good, just need to get a little bit more snug in the center of the corner. Well, they did a lot of changes under that last red flag. With the start and stoppages of this practice session, Rudy Fugle opted to go for a little bit different of a package as a whole. That means a spring change, a bar change, air pressures. They threw it at the Axalta Chevrolet of William Byron, so we'll see if that improves as far as the lap times, and maybe if we can run this thing out, we'll see what it does over the long run. But you guys mentioned qualifying, and that brought up an interesting point with how important the pit box selection is. I asked Rudy, I said, will you get a chance to focus on your qualifying speed? He said, that's not our goal today. If we can get the balance right, that should equal to a good short and long run race car. So no qualifying mock is the scheduled distance for William Byron, although with all these red flags, they may have an opportunity with fresh set of tires at the end to go try to at least see what one lap does around Phoenix.
Balance is important, Todd Gordon, but at Phoenix Raceway, turns 1 and 2 banked far less than turns 3 and 4. Oh, by the way, you got a dog leg here just past the start-finish line. How do you get the ideal balance in your race car when the track itself isn't completely balanced?
Well, you figure out what things don't work on either end. So like, and the piece I would go back to in my Gen 6 car days is left rear spring rate seemed to be something I could work on connecting the two ends, because the turn 1 and 2 end of the racetrack, it doesn't have a lot of banking. It's got a bigger radius. You're kind of in a point where you're not compressing that left rear. You're actually maybe in droop a little bit or neutral. But the left rear spring change, so the left rear spring changes didn't have much of an effect on that end. Although here in 3 and 4 with more banking, you're compressing into that. I could tune the balance of turns 3 and 4 with left rear spring.
A couple of thoughts on that. Speaking of turns 3 and 4, we're practicing today the same time we'll be racing on Sunday, but you're also experiencing shade halfway between turns 3 and 4, off of 4, through the flag stand, and almost into the dog leg. What does that play into, the shade piece? What does that play into matters?
It grips the racetrack up. And as you look at this, we're in full-blown sun turning off the wall into turn 3. And that's probably the sketchiest part of this racetrack to me, was that unloaded, you haven't gotten down in the banking and you're trying to turn down to the bottom of the racetrack. That's still slick and hot. As the race goes on, maybe the shade starts to help cover that as well. But the shade in the middle of 3 and 4, you're almost driving to it, because that shade cools the racetrack, and it lets the racetrack kind of grip back up, and your car gets just better.
Turns 3 and 4 is where AJ Allmendinger hit the wall. He is with Chris Wilner.
Yeah, it's good to see AJ out of the care center. AJ, that was a huge hit. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm ready for the year to be over. I'm tired of hitting walls the last few weeks, but yeah, it's all good. I might have a bruise on my elbow from bouncing off the seat. Getting good, trying to get the wind back into me after a wreck, but yeah, other than that, I'm fine.
Was there any warning to what happened? This has been such a bizarre practice session. I know you were one of a handful that had a tire failure earlier, and then this happened.
Yeah, I mean, we had a left rear go down the first run, and you know, the second run there, everything felt okay, and like the last couple laps, it got a little bit tighter, but I just thought we were already tight, so I just thought that was kind of the nature of the beast, and I wanted to run the laps out to see what we got, and gave me no warning, and unfortunately, they usually blow right at the wrong time, so yeah, I'm not sure if it's the tire or us just trying to push tire pressure. Usually on our group, we don't really go that low on tire pressure in practice, but I'm not sure. We'll just have to evaluate and figure out why.
Glad you're okay. AJ Allmendinger done for this practice session. That was a huge hit there in turns 3 and 4. Good to see he's okay.
And he brings up a good point. He has taken several trips to the care center over the last few weeks and can totally understand his frustration about wanting the season to be over and basically hit the reset button for 2026. Just saw something very interesting on the racetrack. You know, we talk about Joe Gibbs Racing, we talk about Hendrick Motorsports going for the title, and what driver could disrupt those proceedings? Well, one of those yellow cars just flexed some muscle getting around Denny Hamlin in turn 3.
That was Ryan Blaney. Going into turn 3, Blaney went down and made the pass on Denny Hamlin. Through the dog leg, Denny was a car length or so behind him. By the time they got to the middle of turns 1 and 2, Blaney pulled away by 5-6 car lengths. Blaney was able to get back on the throttle far sooner than what Denny Hamlin did.
And Ryan Blaney has gone to the top of the leaderboard here in practice.
And this is the second set of tires for Ryan Blaney. This is a sticker run. That's why he went to the top of the leaderboard. I don't know where Denny Hamlin's on tires right now. If he's on older tires, that would explain. You're going to be off in pace. That's one of the things, one of the reasons a Goodyear changed the compound coming here is that the drivers wanted to have more lap time fall off. If Denny's on older tires, that's going to show that comers and goers that Blaney's got sticker tires and drove right by him.
Because of the rather halting start of the practice with all the red flags and stoppages, we're now starting to get some cars getting some 10 consecutive lap averages in. To the top of the 10 consecutive lap average, Kyle Larson. Second is William Byron. So Hendrick Motorsports on the 10-lap average, they're starting to flex a bit of muscle right now. Only 3 drivers have gotten 15 consecutive laps. That will change here the longer we run.
And we just got confirmation Denny Hamlin is on older tires. So while Ryan Blaney has updated his set of tires, waiting for Denny Hamlin to do the same, we've got 26 minutes to go in this practice session. Still plenty of time to see what every car has. Ryan Blaney, we know, has speed, but when these teams transfer to the next set, they, remember, are allowed 3 sets in total, with the third obviously being the most important here at the end.
This is something for all of us to file away come Sunday for the championship race. New, fresh Goodyears are going to mean something awfully big on a short run. Basically what we've seen, Blaney now has a half a straightaway advantage on Denny Hamlin after he passed him, which has only been about 6 laps or so ago.
And you look at this, Denny Hamlin, as we had kind of verified for us, on older tires here. We'll see where this goes. Steve Post, what do you hear on Denny Hamlin?
Well, Denny Hamlin just said, I've got a vibration late entry or late exit of the corner. The car's starting to vibrate. Boy, they didn't waste any time. Chris Gale said, give us one hot pit entry. Get onto pit road up to full speed and bring it to us. So we'll see if we can learn what's going on with Denny Hamlin, but a little vibration on his car. And I think everybody here in this garage after this practice session is just a little bit gun shy. Hamlin's going to do a full run down pit road all the way around pit road, and then he will bring the crew or the car back around the racetrack to the attention of the crew in the garage area.
And with the number of Toyota teammates and Toyota cars that have had tire pressures, I would be quick to the trigger if I were Chris Gale. I wonder if doing this and being this deep on tires, if Denny's looking at maybe making a longer run and with the alternate strategy here, saving that last set to make a mock run at the end.
So why would Denny Hamlin, when his crew chief said, get it to pit road right now, why would he go ahead and run all the way through pit road before coming to the garage area?
Great question. The reason that you would do this is because if you think about this, when tires are cold, they're a little bit smaller. And you want to see where your lights are and what your speed is on pit road. So the lights are actually the RPMs. You set that in the dash. So there's like a light bar in the dash, and you tell the driver that you want to run all of your reds or all of your blues. They're different colors. So he'll run all of those and run down pit road, and you'll see how close you are to being maximum pit road speed here. But you want to do that on hot tires because you can end up running the same RPM on a cold, low-pressure tire. Could be a little bit slower than what you run on a fully inflated, like race-inflated tire coming to pit road.
23 minutes left to go in the practice session. Ryan Blaney is fastest with Austin Cindric, Ryan Priest, Josh Berry, and William Byron, the rest of the top 5. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-212-2828. 800-212-2828. That's 800-212-2828.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco.
Hey, it's Ryan Blaney, 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion. If you know me, I did Black Buffalo Long Cut. Black Buffalo is America's only credible smokeless tobacco alternative. Black Buffalo was established in America in 2015, and it dips just like the real thing, without the tobacco leaf or stem. You can find Black Buffalo at thousands of retailers across the USA near you. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative. If it's everything you love about dip, nothing you don't.
.com/regional.
Back at Phoenix Raceway, 22 minutes to go in practice for the NASCAR Cup Series season finale tomorrow in Phoenix. Ryan Blaney is the fastest on the racetrack. The first driver to have challenge in this practice session was Chase Briscoe, and it happened 5 laps in. He is 17th on the leaderboard. Let's get an update from his garage stall.
Well, they continue to work on the left rear of the car. They went out and they ran I think an 8 or 10 lap run, and didn't get a sense as to what he was saying about the race car, but they brought it back down, and they continue to work on the left rear suspension of this car. Now, I don't know if it's damaged, or I don't know if it's continued to adjust on this thing to make sure that they're taking care of that left rear tire. Now, up under the race car, on the side skirt of the car, right in front of the left rear tire, they did put a bunch of tape up on there, and they look damaged. They did do some damage underneath it. I'm not sure the degree of the damage on that car. I feel pretty comfortable the diffuser is all right. Not only did some teammates for Christopher Bell's team, but some of the guys on this crew went under, and even the car chief for Denny Hamlin's crew went under, and they all looked at the diffuser, and it looks like that's all right. So I'm not sure the suspension repair or suspension changes on the left rear are damage related or are just continuing to try to take care of that left rear tire on Chase Briscoe's car, as he was the first one, as you guys just mentioned, to have a problem here this afternoon.
Lots to digest here in this, what was supposed to be 50-minute practice session. We know it was added by 3 minutes because of the early problems on. But that being said, the Championship 4, as we look at it right now, Denny Hamlin has run a 10 consecutive lap run, but is not even showing up in the top 10 in average speed on that 10 consecutive laps.
But he did that on his 4th run in tires. I want to see what 10 laps happens on sticker tires. As we talked about, there's a big difference between a sticker tire and the speed it's got and a multi-cycled tire. So let's see what happens. Denny Hamlin in the garage, I think, putting tires on. Let's see how he fires back off.
And now you wrinkle in Kyle Larson, just hit the wall a few laps ago, coming out of turn number 4. Scuffed up the right rear quarter panel on the number 5 HendrickCars.com Chevrolet. This practice session has had just about everything for a lot of different folks.
Here's the thing, though, with Larson scraping the wall. That happens almost every week, it seems, because on race mornings, I'll walk through the garage, and his crew chief, Cliff Daniels, is the one always repairing the right rear quarter panel of that race car.
And it's not slowed him down. If you look at the lap times, I've got the graph in front of me. He's clicking off some really good laps at this point. Chris Wilner, what can you add?
Yeah, Todd, after they made a minor chassis adjustment before that, or after that first red flag, Kyle's been pretty quiet on the radio. And you mentioned the hit with the wall. He said, it's not bad. I just got in there a little bit too hot. But again, pushing the envelope has been the name of the game for Kyle Larson in his career. And I asked Kyle and Cliff Daniels this morning about just what today feels like and what this weekend feels like. And both were adamant, and they feel like that this has been the most confident that this whole number 5 team has been going into a championship race. 21 when he won the championship. He says this feels better than it did.
And we'll catch
like
up with
the
Chris
vibe
Wilner
is
here.
high with the team. They know what they need to do, and right now it's about checking boxes. Before he got on the radio and got on the wall, he did come over the radio with Cliff and said, how am I doing? Cliff just said, I love the effort you're putting in on this long run. Keep doing what you're doing. So certainly it's reflective on the speed charts, but Kyle Larson pushing the envelope here in practice.
So we'll keep a close eye on that. We've got another car slowing down just a bit here in the dogleg off turn number 4. As not sure if they caught the fence or not. Trying to figure out which car that is, Mike. This came by at a slow rate. Now it's trying to pick up the pace just a bit.
The 60 car, Ryan Preece, I believe it was.
Yep, Ryan Preece is that car. Now he's up to speed on the back straightaway. We've got 18 minutes to go in this practice session. You know, coming into this weekend, everybody was trying to handicap who's the best here, who's the best there, which of the championship 4 drivers. I would say, Alex, this is the first time in a long time where there is no clear-cut favorite. You could make a case for every single of the 4 to win the championship, you can make a case for every single one of the 4 to not win the championship on Sunday.
100% agree. And even though practice hasn't gone exactly the way the Joe Gibbs Racing Camp has wanted it to, they still have the opportunity to make adjustments to the race cars before qualifying tomorrow.
Yes, that's the great part of this practice, having overnight. They'll be up burning the midnight oil, running sims on the computer, looking at the data through all their teammates and even their associates with 2311 of what they can do and what their changes need to be to put themselves in a great position.
How deflating, though, is this for Joe Gibbs Racing? Denny Hamlin won the first race of the round of 8 in Las Vegas. Chase Briscoe won the next week at Talladega. They've had a lot more time than Hendrick Motorsports to work on their Phoenix stuff.
Well, there is more time, but you know, the tire's a question mark. This is a new tire to being here, so not knowing where it's going to be, what the conditions are going to be like, it's just something you have to sort your way through and figure out. You know, you found the limits of it. Now how far back can you move yourself to be in a better position?
With a further update, here's Steve Post.
No, I had a great visit this morning with Chris Gabehart, and he's the competition director at Joe Gibbs Racing, and I asked that question. Denny's been good for a couple weeks. Chase has been good for 2 weeks here on this one. Denny for 3 races ago. And he said, it's great. We knew the car we wanted. We could even plan the strategy for this practice session and who's going to help who and who's going to do what and what's going to happen here. He said, but you know where I'm at this morning? I'm ready to go racing. I worry about paralysis by analysis. We've ran through every sequence. We've ran through everything, and sometimes it's just making your head spin. He said we needed to get to the racetrack with both of these cars and get out here and perform. Now, they'll have some more analysis to do after this practice session, but Chris Gabehart was worried. He wanted the benefit of it, and Todd, you've talked about this so much, how winning that first race of the next to last round is so important, but he wanted that, but he said we have wore ourselves out trying to figure all the scenarios here. It's time to just go put these cars on a racetrack and race them.
Yeah, there comes that point, but winning that first race of the round of 8 puts you in a great position, especially with Talladega out there. He's raced free the last 2 weeks. They've had decent runs, obviously had an engine issue last week that they feel like they have a solid answer to. Now they're on the racetrack. They can work through the things they need to do for speed.
Well, Chris Gabehart should have a lot of smiles on his face because Denny Hamlin has just gone to P4 on the leaderboard, and Kyle Busch has a problem coming across the start-finish line. A flat, actually damage on the right side of the Cheddar's machine. He'll bring that Chevrolet to the apron of the racetrack just past the start-finish line, and that will bring out the red flag yet again.
Yeah, Kyle Busch is going to have everything behind him slow down. Looks like the car's listing a little bit to the left. The left rear is flat on the Kyle Busch Cheddar's Chevrolet, and he's going to try to limp that race car back to the pit lane, and he is a long ways, complete opposite side of the racetrack from the entrance to pit road. The AMR safety truck is going to trail him at a snail's pace around the racetrack. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You've never been one to idly watch someone else do something for you. There's pride in self-reliance, in working with your hands, in harnessing the power of an E3 spark plug with Diamond Fire technology, yielding better engine performance. You have a choice to make. Take control of your ride, of your life, or be the passenger princess of it. Visit e3sparkplugs.com to put the power in your hands.
David Grouse.
Hi, I'm Donnie Shaw.
This is Brian Brown.
This is Danny
Dietrich. Wing Nation is your go-to destination for all the latest sprint car news and interviews from the stars of sprint car racing from around the country. This is Steve Post. Aaron Evernham, Ashley Strummy, and I will have all the latest news, insights, and conversations on Wing Nation's YouTube or Facebook pages, or listen and download and subscribe to Wing Nation on any podcast platform.
Wing Nation.
Wing Nation.
Wing Nation.
Wing Nation.
Wing Nation. All sprint cars, all the time.
Six different drivers have had some sort of an issue here in this 50-minute practice session 5 of the 6 have had left rear tire deflations. One, in AJ Allmendinger, had a right front, and he went into the outside wall with a hard impact. Again, he's been treated, released from the infield care center. He is back in the garage area right now as he's with the race team trying to figure it out. The 5 drivers that have had left rear problems, our latest was Kyle Busch. Championship 4 contender Chase Briscoe, Riley Herbst, Christopher Bell, and Daniel Suarez have all had left rear deflation issues.
Red flag has been withdrawn. We're back under the green. 13 laps to go, and everybody's just easing their way back up to speed. Now Carson Hocevar is the first back up to full throttle coming across the start-finish line. Ross Chastain is behind him. Joey Logano is there. But let's focus on Denny Hamlin right now, who, as Steve Post said, is trying to continue what they've been doing. The problem is they haven't had that prolonged period of green flag time on the track to see what that car's capable of.
And I feel like, Mike, and you guys just referenced it, they went to number 4 on the speed chart. That is on new tires, but you go to number 4 on new tires, you're comparing yourself to others on new tires. And Denny felt good about the race car, and when Kyle Busch had his problem, you could hear the frustration in Chris Gale's voice. He said, yellow's out, just bring the car down pit road. We're going to continue on with this run once we go back to green. But Chris really wanted to do a long run. He wanted to do a 40-lap run at the end of this one, but that caution with Kyle Busch's problem is probably going to prevent them from doing it. So Denny feels pretty good. I think they made some good adjustments on the progressive Toyota. We'll just have to see how long they get a chance to run it and what they feel after this run, hopefully, that is uninterrupted to the checkered flag at the end of this session.
NASCAR has added a couple of more minutes to the practice session and is now scheduled to end at 38 minutes after the hour. So we got about 13 and a half or 14 minutes left here in this practice session.
Ross Chastain has been mentioned as a driver that may disrupt the proceedings on Sunday. He always seems to run Phoenix very well, Alex, and right now he's running it well in practice.
Yeah, he is. Ross Chastain, 5th best right now on single lap speeds, but Chastain is a driver that can make his money here at Phoenix on longer runs. We've seen him do it in the past and come out with a checkered flag when it's all said and done. And let's face it, this is a driver and a team that needs something positive heading into the offseason and a little momentum on their side.
Well, right now, Ross Chastain and Trackhouse Racing is about to have a chemistry change in 2026. Connor Zilic is going to be coming over from the NASCAR Xfinity Series and jumping in to replace Daniel Suarez, Daniel Suarez getting ready to run his last race with Trackhouse, getting ready to go over to Spire Motorsports. There will be a series of lasts that will take place on Sunday. Those are a couple of them, but I would say one of the bigger ones is this is the last race for the current Chevy car. When we go to Daytona in February, we're going to have a different Chevy car model, and Chevrolet teams will have to get their arms around something new like they had to do a few years ago with the Camaro.
And Stephen Doran is going to be their most experienced crew chief as they go forward. Phil Gould has announced that he's going to step away from being a crew chief for Ross Chastain. I believe they've hired the engineer off the 24 car to fill that position. They've brought over Randall Burnett to crew chief for Connor Zilic in the 99 car, or whatever that'll end up being, but that ride. So Stephen Doran will be the senior member of the crew chief trio over there.
It's been a difficult year for Trackhouse in the grand scheme of things. Yes, they have gotten the victory lane numerous times with Shane Van Gisbergen behind the wheel. Ross Chastain's had flashes of brilliance like we expect out of he and that team. And then Daniel Suarez has had a couple of good, solid races, but just hasn't been able to put together green flag to checkered flag. The way things have gone here in the last 10 races of this season, Shane Van Gisbergen may be the best of the Trackhouse cars right now.
He really has come to life on ovals in the last portion of this season. Of course, we know what he's capable of on the road courses. We've seen it to the tune of 5 wins here in 2025. And now he's starting to tighten up the oval assets as well. And we'll see what 2026 will offer for Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG, who right now is buried back in 35th of the 38 cars that have taken time. So right now on the racetrack, Ty Gibbs has just gone to the top of the leaderboard. We're starting to see these teams update their tires and put on fresher tires with 11 minutes to go. Got Ryan Blaney second, Austin Cindric third. Ryan Preece is 4th. Denny Hamlin is 5th. Chase Elliott is 6th. With Ross Chastain in 7th. Josh Berry in 8th. William Byron's 9th. And Christopher Bell is 10th.
Currently on single lap speeds, 11th is Kyle Larson. 12th is Eric Jones. Todd Gilliland is 13th. And Joey Logano 14th. Carson Hocevar is 15th. Chase Briscoe 16th. Zane Smith is 17th. Bubba Wallace is 18th. John Hunter Nemechek is 19th. And Michael McDowell is 20th.
Austin Dillon's 21st. Tyler Reddick is 22nd. Kyle Busch is 23rd with Alex Bowman 24th. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 25th. Daniel Suarez is 26th. Chris Buescher is 27th. Cole Custer is 28th. Riley Hurst is 29th. And Cody Ware is 30th.
31st is AJ Allmendinger. Justin Haley 32nd. Noah Gragson 33rd. Brad Keselowski is 34th. Shane Van Gisbergen 35th. Ty Dillon is 36th. Casey Mears is 37th. And J.J. Yaley is 38th.
Programming update for all of you listening to us down the line. Coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, the NASCAR Racing Network will have coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Championship race. Tomorrow, we've got 3 broadcasts coming your way from Phoenix. We'll join you tomorrow morning here in the Mountain Time Zone. It'll be 1:30 p.m. Eastern. MRN will have coverage of the ARCA Menard Series West Desert Diamond West Valley 100, followed by NASCAR Cup Series qualifying at 5 Eastern. We'll have the NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship race for you at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. And then we're back Sunday. It'll be the season finale for the NASCAR Cup Series. We'll crown a champion. Motor Racing Network and NASCAR Live Race Day airtime 2 p.m. in the East Sunday afternoon.
We gave you the single lap speeds. How about the 15 consecutive lap average? Whose car has been hanging on the best balance-wise, and that is belonging to Kyle Larson. Ryan Blaney is second in that. Then you've got Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones, and Joey Logano are the top 5 in the 15 consecutive lap average.
Right now on the racetrack, we're watching Denny Hamlin as he continues to work his way around the racetrack. He's finally been able to get some laps in succession, Alex. He's one of those teams that, or one of the drivers that really paid a price for all these red flags. Well, we had 5 or 6 red flags or so. They couldn't get enough time on the racetrack, but the problem is right now they're kind of pent up in some traffic. They're behind Cole Custer, and they're right in front of Ross Chastain, and they're trying to get all the info they can on that progressive Toyota Camry.
Yeah, they are. Clean air is king, even in practice. We know that. You want to have as much clean air as you can to get a good balance on the race car. But you also know, Steve Post, you are going to be in traffic in Sunday's race here at Phoenix.
And they've really done a nice job listening to Chris Gale telling Denny he's been followed by Ross Chastain, and Denny was made aware very early in this. Ross has 4-lap fresher tires, and Denny's been able to maintain that pace with Ross, and Chris has kept him involved on who's in front of him and who's on what tire strategy. Now, Denny's very happy with the handling of the race car. They've all just acknowledged about 2 laps ago, good lap, really solid, car feels good. Denny has reported one little issue that he's concerned about, and I'm not even sure how to interpret it, but he just said the clutch is long on the race car, so they're not worried about it right now. And again, this is pre-inspection, so they can take a look at it and really get an idea if there is a problem with the clutch on that car. But Denny Hamlin, the performance of the car has certainly come to life, and feeling good about that progressive Toyota.
And actually, yeah, I'm glad that they'll have the opportunity to work on that clutch. But I'm gonna go a little different direction, Alex, than you. I like my driver to be in dirty air. I like my driver to figure out what he needed out of the balance of his race car to pass cars, to run behind cars. You're going to have to do that tomorrow. You can't be out there running all clean by yourself. So I really don't. I would actually ask my drivers back in the day to put themselves behind somebody. Go figure out what your car needs for balance to pass somebody. You can figure out when the air gets clean, everything gets better for you.
How'd that work out for you?
I worked out at times.
What a race or two, maybe a Daytona 500, maybe a championship.
Maybe a championship, yes.
Yeah. That was pretty important to me, was understanding what our car needed to do to pass cars. And to be back there, no, you will not be on the top of this board, and our 5 and 10 and 15 lap averages won't show it. But my driver will be able to tell me that he's got a good race car, and that, to me, at the end of the day, was the important part.
How hard and how big of a swing do you take trying to achieve this balance? And do you leave a little wiggle room to make the adjustments on Sunday if the driver is feeling tight, if it's feeling loose in various parts of the racetrack?
Yeah, you definitely want to understand what it's got in traffic, what it's got in clean air, and where you feel like you're going to be. And yes, you're trying to anticipate what happens. You look at the weather for Sunday, it looks very similar to what we've got here. Upper 80s and sunshine, so this should be real relevant to what we've got for balance come later. But that getting an idea where we are in traffic and what the balance is, and then understanding where the racetrack's going to go with more rubber in it, having that ability to adjust during the race as you need to.
Now, if you're just joining us here on our practice coverage for the NASCAR Cup Series Championship race, we got off to a difficult start. We had a lot of different cars having flat left rear tires. We haven't had one of those for quite a while, Mike. So that pretty much tells you the teams were underinflating and trying to figure out what that fine line was for maximum grip on that side of the race car without the failure. And it tells you this is not a Goodyear issue.
Well, and you brought it up earlier in our coverage, and this is not the first time we've seen that. When you see those type of tire challenges early on in a practice run, more times than not, that's an inflation challenge. And especially if you see it concentrated among cars from the same racing organization.
Yes, and it's just how Goodyear does a great job of disseminating information on what happens with low pressures and how much longevity there is. Now, adapting that to yourself and what you're going to do, how you read that information and turn it into where you feel your limits are organizationally, sometimes that's a challenge, and you don't know where it's going to be. The other piece here, down in turn one, you tend to run across the apron on entry. You can run down there. Those things will put more load into the tire and the shoulder of the tire, so there's a lot of question marks that we have data, data from having a tire consistently in the past would be easy for you. When you've got a new tire, crew chiefs have to figure out where the limits of that inflation are.
Well, we got another problem on Daniel Suarez. Another flat left rear for Daniel Suarez. It happened coming out of turn number 4 across the start-finish line. He has taken his Chevrolet to the bottom of the racetrack, and he's going painstakingly slow around the apron, just trying to limp it back to the garage area with just 4 minutes to go in practice.
It's been tough for Daniel Suarez here today, and this is his final race weekend with Trackhouse Racing as he's moving over to JBMotorsports next season. Special paint scheme on board for Daniel Suarez this weekend. Trackhouse Racing thanking Daniel by virtue of putting that all over the race car. Very cool paint scheme for Suarez.
And Freeway Insurance on the quarter panels of his race car. And a big announcement earlier today, Freeway Insurance becoming a premier partner in NASCAR.
Yeah, joining Busch Light, Coca-Cola, and Xfinity as premier partners for NASCAR. So that is a big deal to have Freeway Insurance, freeway.com being a part of NASCAR, and they're going to be in a lot of different areas and avenues in the sport of NASCAR racing, including continuing to sponsor Daniel Suarez and his ride at Spire.
Right now on the racetrack, 3 minutes to go. Ty Gibbs is the fastest. Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Ryan Preece, Denny Hamlin are the top 5 fast cars. And remember, we're practicing only. We'll qualify tomorrow afternoon, which is different at Phoenix. Cars have been on the racetrack for 50 minutes plus, unlike the normal 25 minutes, and the field broken up into 2 groups. All the cars at one point were on the racetrack at the same time. Basically, everybody into the pool, and then tomorrow we'll line them up, and everybody gets 1 lap of qualifying to set their fast lap for Sunday.
Todd, here at Phoenix Raceway, we're in the desert. There's a lot of dust that blows around this area.
Yes.
And when the track sits still, how quickly does the dust settle, for lack of a better way to say it, on the racing surface?
Yeah, if this track sits for 5 minutes, it seems like you've got a couple laps to get it back to being clean and raceable. It's you don't see it, but you just feel like there's. We saw it this morning. We saw the Air Titans running down pit road and just blowing the dust back out of the racetrack. It settles out of the air. It's pretty clear. You can see the Phoenix skyline and all the buildings down there in the distance, but we've just got an opportunity for dust to settle.
Steve Post, Chase Briscoe has just come down pit road for the 5th consecutive time. What's going on there with that car?
I'm speculating here, Mike, but he had another vibration, not this run, but the last run. He had another vibration, and I have a hunch they're very, very gun shy. So what they've been doing is they've been doing pit road practice, and they're giving him his times, his lights, the various sequences. I'm not sure they want to go back out on the racetrack at full speed because I'm not sure they feel that confident of the setup of the race car right now. So James Small is just coming off the pit box, so I'm assuming the next time down pit road they might actually bring the car back to the garage area area, but they've done 4 or 5 mock runs down pit road for Chase Briscoe here, and now this time, as a matter of fact, here he is, he's making the left turn into the garage area. So it has been a rough day at the office for Chase Briscoe in this Bass Pro Shops Club Tracker Boats Toyota.
Making time on pit road can make the difference between winning a championship and not. If you think back to 2021, we talked about this. That's when it was Joe Gibbs versus Rick Hendrick. Kyle Larson was third, coming to the last opportunity to come down pit road. He got everything on pit road. The pit crew did a phenomenal job. They got him out first. He drove off to a championship. Having that maximized and working those pieces is part of your game plan for practice today.
And if you look at who is the best pit crew in NASCAR this year, specifically the Championship 4, it is the number 5 pit crew team of Kyle Larson and his entire team. They are the best on pit road. Then it's William Byron's team. They're ranked 4th overall. Denny Hamlin's team is ranked 7th overall. Chase Briscoe's pit crew is ranked 12th overall in NASCAR Cup Series pit stops for the entire season. But Kyle Larson's team has been the best.
Kyle Larson coming out of turn number 4 right now across the start-finish line. 3, 2, 1, and red and black flags are flying, and the final practice session for the NASCAR Cup Series is over for 2025, and it's Ty Gibbs, the fastest in single lap. As far as 5-lap consecutive averages, Ryan Blaney the quickest. He's quickest in the 10-lap average, but Kyle Larson is the quickest in the 15-lap average as well. A matter of fact, here comes Kyle to get one last lap. He will cross the start-finish line. He will be the last car to take time in practice today.
And everybody will make their way back to the NASCAR Cup Series garage and start figuring out what they need to do to try to figure the setup up and maybe the qualifying setup for tomorrow as well, to find out who's going to win the NASCAR Cup Series championship race. An eventful practice session here today, Mike.
Yeah, right now, everybody's just coming off the racetrack right now and pulling into their pit stalls. A lot of debriefing happening. But then again, we talk about the debriefing happening during this practice session, especially with the drivers that have had those challenges, including Chase Briscoe, Riley Herbst, Christopher Bell, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch. They all have had left rear flat tires, and they've had the chance to get out of the race car and communicate with their crew chiefs and maybe introduce some adjustments to make to those cars.
Think separately as well, because this is a deal where Chase Briscoe specifically has had some issues in this practice session. Does that change his old mindset? Does that take the nerves out of the championship weekend and replace it with just pure frustration? This could be something that could help him get rid of some nerves trying to go after his first career NASCAR Cup Series championship.
Well, NASCAR Cup Series racing is not easy. It's riddled with challenge, and if you're just joining us, it's been a very, very challenging day for Chase Briscoe, James Small, that Bass Pro Shops Toyota Camry, and it started 5 laps into practice when they had a flat tire. They had to slowly bring that car to pit road. They've been able to work on the car. As we mentioned at the very end of practice, it was Chase that was just going around pit road for 4 or 5 consecutive laps and trying to get some information there, and as Postman said, perhaps maybe a little concern there as far as what was up with that race car. Matter of fact, let's get Chase's thoughts with Postman right now.
Chase, just describe what all you went through in that practice session.
Yeah, that was chaos. That was like the most just crazy practice session. You know, just didn't ever really got any flow. You know, like we only ran probably maybe 20-something laps. So, yeah, just had that early issue with the left rear. And at that point, you know, we were the first person to have it. And you know, then I think 8 or 9 different guys did. So at least we're not, you know, alone in that sense. Obviously, it's definitely concerning. You know, I don't think the Hinder cars or anything had those issues. So yeah, I just got to figure out, you know, what we got going on. And yeah, like I said, at least we're not the only ones. So obviously, there's a solution to it. You know, other guys aren't having the problem, but yeah, we'll go to work and see what we can do.
We saw 3 or 4 runs down pit road. What was the call on that there at the end?
Yeah, our left rear tire was about to blow again, so you know there's really no point us being able to go run on the racetrack, and was just trying to dial in everything from a pit road standpoint. You know, it's those little details that'll add up on Sunday of, you know, beating the guy off pit road for the lead or whatever it may be. So yeah, I was trying to dial all that in. You know, pit road's obviously extremely important, and yeah, just trying to get some reps in. We don't really get to do that outside of the race a lot of the time. So yeah, just trying to be as best we can for Sunday.
All right, that's Chase Briscoe. He's going to go debrief with James Small as crew chief and try to figure out how they tackle this mess that they got themselves in this practice session here today.
Yeah, they've got a lot of questions, and I'm not sure they got a ton of answers for them right now. Let's hear from William Byron with Chris Wilner.
Yeah, William Byron ended that practice session third on the 10 lap. There was a lot to digest, a lot of starts and stops, but where did this practice session end for you compared to where it started?
It felt like the car was doing some good things. So, yeah, I feel overall like we're in the ballpark and just go try to learn on those things.
Was there any concern early with all the different tire malfunctions on some of the other teams? Was there concern in your camp at all?
No, I don't worry about it.
William Byron, done with practice, very happy with this race car. They made a lot of changes, a lot of suspension changes between two different setups, and they ultimately settled on one.
Right now, Denny Hamlin, 5th. William Byron, 9th. Kyle Larson, 11th. Chase Briscoe, 16th. That's how the Championship 4 practiced for the Cup race on Sunday. Be sure to join us for NASCAR Cup Series qualifying tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR Live Race Day with coverage of the Championship race for the Cup Series, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For Steve Post and Chris Wilner, Todd Gordon, and Alex Hayden, I'm Mike Bagley. Thank you so much for joining us for NASCAR Cup Series practice from Phoenix. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll have the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series season finale on the NASCAR Racing Network. Until then, so long, everybody.
Motor Racing Network's coverage of NASCAR Cup Series practice for the NASCAR Cup Series Championship has come to you from Phoenix Raceway. Presented on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Powerful and fuel efficient. Find E3 at your nearest auto parts store. Our coverage has come to you under an exclusive radio license granted by Phoenix Raceway to the Motor Racing Network, solely for the non-commercial use of our listening audience. Any use of the descriptions and accounts of this event without the express written permission of the Motor Racing Network is prohibited. This broadcast was directed by Ryan Horn. Broadcast engineer Andy Tebow. Studio engineer Andy Paceni. Audio engineer Craig Moore. The president of MRN is Chris Schwartz. Follow NASCAR every day at MRN.com. This broadcast was a production of the Motor Racing Network.